Hi there, and welcome to the latest episode of Pat's Procrastination, brought to you by the Pat's Propaganda YouTube channel. Please do not forget to be subscribing to said YouTube channel, folks. So, welcome in to the post-game recap wrap show. Go right that time. Week 12, episode 45 at Miami. So, Chudders, how are things with you?
I'm doing grand, and I'm quite excited for this episode because I'm going to be amazed at the magical manoeuvres you're going to make to spin some positives out of this. So let's start, Claire.
You've got to find the positives. I did want to say, actually, because of how things are transpiring with how the performance is going with said team, perhaps we shouldn't do like offense good, bad, defense good, bad, special teams good, bad. Let's just do good and bad, like team good, team bad. Else, because these shows are getting longer and longer, and I think people are starting to tap out after about probably 3 minutes. So. So let's just split it into good and bad, and then like the player thing that I can't remember because I'm really good like that. Yeah.
So the first good on my list, the game's finished. So what's yours?
Oh, seriously, it wasn't that bad. It was. They had a couple of good drives. They had a couple of little sparks. I think there was two consecutive drives that was quite exciting. So I did leave this game, obviously, like everybody else, like, oh, there's so many things that are wrong. We get it. I completely get it. But there was some specific. Got to be nitpicky because it's very specifics. We can't sort of do, oh, so and so he was really good. It's like, oh, so and so's play was really, really good, sort of thing. So yeah, unfortunately, you're talking little bits. Because in the first quarter, it was Stevenson just flung Poyer to the ground in the first. It was like sort of in the first quarter, halfway through the first quarter. And I found that very pleasing because that's the very way that I enjoy watching football, very dominating way of playing football. So yeah, then there was like loads of yuck in between because it was full starts and stuff like this, which I'm sure we will touch upon in a moment when I give you the microphone just to be your curmudgeon self. But Pop Douglas with his one-handed catch in the third quarter. I've got LFG in my notes there. So yeah, Hooper with the catch and the touchdown. Very excited. I always get very excited when there's a tight end touchdown. Always get very excited. So, yes. The goods are little bits of, the little sparks of glitter here and there, but that's all we've really got on the whole bleep show of everything else. But I still found some sparks of glitter, I'll be honest with you. And I'm fine today. I'm completely fine today. I'm sorry?
Rolling a turd in glitter, really, isn't it? It's little sparkles, like you say. An individual play is about as good as it can get, really, isn't it?
But if you want to talk about the positives, then unfortunately we've got to break it down quite specifically. I mean, yeah, we could just do a show and all we talk about is how everything, like dumpster fire, as they say. But I don't like doing that because there are still some little things and they aren't great. And I know how much bad there is. As I said, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you in a minute and you'll probably finish the show with your curmudgeon list of bads. But Pop Douglas, Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper. Now, yeah, no, but they're really good offensive players. And with those and Drake May, although, yeah, I know you probably talk about him, he didn't have his best game at all. I can see that we have some really good pieces, and it's the frustration is that we're not getting a chance to really utilize them, or there's issues, or there's coaching problems, or there's blah, 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 blah. I get it. But when I look at sort of the game book, or when I go back and look at the game or sort of reflect on it, I still have an element of excitement and positivity because they've still got a couple of elements that are good. And a lot of this is year one. This is, we need to be patient. This isn't going to be the most successful of years. You said yourself 2-3 years is what you give it, but yet you sit and then moan about how it's not great. So you guys just want it. You want you have your cake and eat it, and you can't. So there's still a lot to work on. There's still a lot of problems, but it's still just over halfway through. No, what, we're week 12 now, so let's go 2/3. But there's still a lot to look forward to as well. And that's kind of how I feel, really. And this week it's Thanksgiving, so I'm going to give thanks for Douglas and Hooper and Henry, because they're all great sort of offensive players, and it's Thanksgiving on Thursday. We get more football on Thursday, not Patriots football obviously, but we get more football on Thursday, which is very exciting. So I'm just excited this week. What can I say? I am bubbling over, even though it wasn't the best of games. So there you go, folks. That is all the positivity that you're going to have for this week, because now the rest of the show is going to be a Chudders show. So I pre-warn you, it's going to be not very happy, is it?
I think you could throw in the Gonzo. It was a good play.
Yes, it was.
He nearly fell over. He managed to stay on the end zone.
This is true.
The run defense was technically okay, but that's more because they didn't really have much to do, because the Dolphins just threw on you all day, pretty much.
Look, if you're going to do a positive, do a positive.
You found your way. School got another sack.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that. That was ace. He should be on defense more. Possibly. He's like a little rocket. He's great, he is. Little wind-up toy. Let him go.
I agree with Pop. You obviously managed to pick up some garbage time yards. And like you said, there was a good, not great, but good second drive that got you down into field goal range, and then of course it then got scuppered by Sly hitting the post anyway, which was disappointing. So you felt like that kind of, had they got that, maybe momentum, not massive momentum, but maybe that would have given a bit more confidence for the game.
Yeah,
possibly it drained it a little, and as soon as Myman went down the other end, you kind of thought, oh, here we go again, kind of thing. So that was disappointing. I thought that no mistakes in the punt return team in the first half. So that was positive. I mean, they didn't get the opportunity to get on the field, sadly, but that's just because the Dolphins dominated far too much. That's about as much positivity as I can really drain out of this. It's I've scraped the barrel, but it was bad. Now I'm going to take you up on your point where you said how I give them 3 years, which is true, and I talked through that plan. The point of it, though, is that it's a progression, which is why.
Yes, of course, but there's going to be dips. You aren't going to constantly just soar. There's going to be little step backs and a couple of steps forward and a step back and a couple of steps forward and a couple of steps back. Do
you see the game? How do you see the game at the weekend for steps forward, steps back? Because I see.
Oh no, it was back. Yeah, of course, I agree. It was a step back. It was a bad game. I don't believe that in the trajectory of improving that it's like, oh, okay, so steps of improvement. This was a bad step back. Well, that's it. That's it. It's done.
What do you think of the decision to start Brissett now? Because there was a lot of people were saying maybe May's not ready. Some people are saying, oh, the O-line, it's great. We need to wait for that to settle. And I would say both of those are true in as much as maybe May wasn't ready, because he doesn't look ready now. And that's not a dig. It's because he needs development. But we always knew he'd need development. So why don't you start that development in week 1 rather than week 7, was it? I think. And likewise, the O-line wasn't great to start the season. If anything, it's getting worse.
Yeah.
It's not like you brought it in there. So it feels like, was that just a wasted 6 games?
It depends, because what we don't know is what it did for Drake mentally, football smart, what it did for the team internally. It's very easy to sit here and say, well, how he's looking, he could have done with that extra time. Season's not over. He's still got some time. So, we revisit this in a few weeks. He might still be on his, upward trajectory. But yeah, I see both sides. Yes, he may have had those extra weeks of progression and he may be better now than he is, or he may be the same, so it's whatever, or he may be worse because he didn't have that time where he was getting in the groove, seeing what was going on, getting himself used to everything, understanding how it works in the NFL, things like that. Seeing somebody who is clearly a leader in the locker room in regards to Brissett. He isn't super duper on the field, but he's a great guy off field as well. So what we don't know is how much may have benefited from having that time. All we can do is judge from what he has done so far, but we can't really say that he would have still done that or he would have done better. Assumptions and logic, of course, but for me, they thought that was the best path for him. So I trust in the coaching in that respect. I know you pull a face and yeah, I get it, but they know more than I do. So they definitely know more than I do. So I don't feel I can sit here and sort of judge it anyway. But personally, I sort of kind of want to believe, if you like, that he was sat because they felt that was best. It was what was best for him, and he came in when he was ready, and now he's got his teething problems, he's got his rookie issues, but he's also got his positivities as well. So I don't know, I take it you don't agree with that. You don't agree with the sitting now. Hindsight's a bit of though, isn't it, really?
I never thought he should sit. I wanted him playing week 1, so that's he's changing my view. I wanted him playing week 1 personally.
I didn't say you were changing your view. I was just saying hindsight. In hindsight, it's easy to say in hindsight, but yeah.
This way, I've made some notes on bads. I'll list off mine. If you've got any you want to comment on or any you want to add, that's fine.
I'm gonna think we can get my tea now.
Some more general questions maybe about the team and what we want to see going forward. So O-line I thought was horrendous again. Like turnstile, just walking through. Receiving I think was great. Like we say, Douglas had a good game. I thought some of his catches were good. Again, Hooper and Henry were contributing, but outside of that, receiving core does not look good. There wasn't any real run game yet again. Drake May, if you take his off, 60 yards running on the day, not great at all. May turnovers again. I know he's developing. I know he's a rookie, but it's another interception. It's another, say batted ball or another fumble. It's technically a fumble, but it's more a batted ball. But team's going to know that's what they want to do because he keeps leaving it out there to get knocked away. You hope that you understand when these things happen, but you hope that they'll learn and improve from them. And that's, I'm not saying he won't, but that's obviously still something he needs to do. Go on for it. How?
May I interject in that? Yeah, I don't disagree. I still look at it as he is still a rookie developing, so whatever. Interceptions happen in this sport. That's how it is, sort of thing. The best of the best still, cause plenty of interceptions. But I think some of it that we need that isn't sort of being put into perspective, or maybe you aren't taking into consideration, or if you are, the detriment of the O-line. It's if he was behind a consistent, reasonable offensive line, would he be suffering as much? Would his development be progressing completely in the upward trajectory? Maybe not, because like I said, this is the sport. This is how it works in the NFL. Interceptions happen, but I guess maybe I'm not ready to fully put all that blame just on him not progressing, because of what's going on in front of him. He's really becoming bad, if you like. Just my 2 cents on it. As I said, not telling you how to opinion or whatever, but that was
makes it what you're saying is right about the O-line. It makes it tougher, but he knows that's what it's going to be.
True. Yes.
So he should be using it as an opportunity. Right. Okay. I need to learn how to deal with pressure because I'm going to get pressure. And the hope is that down the line, the next season, however long, hopefully not too long, he has a decent O-line.
Mm.
There will still be times when he gets pressure, whether that's because the
Of
team are
course.
6 or blitzing or whatever the reason is, or maybe one of the linemen falls over, whatever. He'll still be under pressure, even if he has O-line in front of him. But okay, so use this as an opportunity to improve your game against pressure. How you deal with it, whether that's taking off with your legs, whether that's using a quick check down, whether that's looking for quick slant passes instead, working out your game, moving your pocket, maybe whatever it is, you now need to use, because it's going to happen again next week.
Yeah.
So use it as an opportunity for developing your game, how you're going to deal with being under pressure, because it's going to happen because you've got a weak outline. So that's where I'd like to sort of see that development as well. Penalties again cost the team heavy. The discipline there is really poor, and that's something we can get to in a minute. I think coaching. Yeah, go on.
I was going to say I do, and I think I said this to you. I think I messaged you this when we were watching it. I don't believe they lost because of bad officiating. But I do believe that some of the penalties that were called as full starts on the Patriots were actually due to Miami, and Miami should have had them called on Miami. Not all of them. And yeah, the discipline still isn't there. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. Part of my pushback is I don't believe that officiating in the first 3 quarters was fair. It was not a fair shot for the Patriots. There were false starts that I do not believe. I'll go back and check, and somebody might say, no, you're wrong, you've looked it wrong, and that's fine. I've only had chance to watch the game once, but there was a couple of false starts on low that I don't believe were necessarily the Patriots' fault. They were on Miami, but no penalties were called on Miami, I think, in the first 3 quarters, even though there was a catch that wasn't a catch and things like that. There's a couple of things. I don't believe that was fair officiating. Now, the Patriots did not lose because of that, and I am not saying that, and I never say that, but I believe that it has had an impact on that loss because I don't believe the officiating was fair, was consistent, was proper. But that's my bugbear. Sorry. Continue.
To finish up on offense, trick plays, they almost seem too complicated for what they were trying to achieve.
Just didn't work.
There's a couple of them they've had now with flea flickers and I don't know what we want to call it, double pass at the weekend. They seem too complicated, and not. Then they weren't. I think that's 2 now. They haven't even got first downs because you throw them back into where there's coverage. It worries me about what plays are being drawn up there. Onto defense, the pass rush wasn't great. I've written down the word, and I'm sure you've heard it on PU secondary. I didn't think the secondary was playing well at all. They couldn't work out. They couldn't stop Waddle or really Smith either. Johnny Smith coming over the middle. Tyreek Hill had a relatively quiet game for him, and he still caught 5 to 6 for 50 or 48 yards. Like, the coverage wasn't good enough. Slants over the middle seemed to just ate them up all day. That seems to that zone's not working, but they were just getting eaten alive, really. Yeah, like I say, special teams missed field goal. It was just a very poor day. A very poor day. And as much as execution, it seemed attitude. Pop Douglas seemed to have it. He seemed to have the fight, the bite. But it didn't feel good at all watching that game. So let's try and not necessarily park the game, but let's talk about some more general elements of the Patriots. First one I wanted to start on them is as we look to, we've obviously got one more week. We've got the Colts. We'll get to look ahead for that shortly, and then we've got a bye week before the end of our fixtures. Obviously, we're in a player evaluation phase at the moment. There are a number of players who are on whose deals are up at the end of the year. Are there any of these that you know now that you want to keep, or now you definitely don't want to keep, or that you want to see them integrated more to make a decision? So Ngakwe, the edge they just signed, obviously. Dietrich Wise, Hooper, Osborne, Wilson, Jonathan Jones, Jordan, the guard, Brissett, Equale, Sly, Hasty, Ellis, Ben Brown, Jeremiah Farms, Austin. Are any of those players? And so I appreciate you might not remember that entire list.
I was going to say, I didn't know there was going to be a test, sir.
He won't jump out. Joey Sly, he obviously missed it the weekend. Do you think as a kicker you're looking to retain him, or is that going to be potentially a competition come camp?
He feels like a for now sort of thing. I don't know. See how it is at the end of the season. I think up until he's had not some greatness, but he's done really well overall. I think I haven't got any of anybody's stats in front of me because you really throw me in the deep end on this one.
That's fine.
But yeah, I think just kind of an off the shoulder of he's all right for now. A lot of these are going to be I'd want to see it at the end of the season. I want to see a full season under what they've got. There's a couple of names that you threw out that I would look to maybe signing at least for another year.
Hooper.
John Jones.
Yes,
I'm always for retaining the vets that stabilise the locker room, particularly after this year, because of everything that's happened this year. And I think John Jones would be a good re-signing, good player, good veteran presence, that kind of thing. If they want to retain, I think Brissett on the quarterback front, more so for his presence and his experience and his veteranness. I think he's a great sort of on the edge of the field warrior, as in not playing, but on the bench, if you like, if you want to say, hey, you asked me my opinion, just because you don't agree. Faces. I believe that I think it's important to have a veteran presence of a quarterback in a locker room when you've got particularly a rookie. I think they've got a good dynamic, it would seem. So for me, whilst he's not top of my list of, oh my God, you have to keep him, I think some of these guys that you're talking about, it's an off-field requirement rather than an on-field one. I think it stabilizes within the organization, within the locker room, that kind of thing. A lot of this is going to depend on who they draft or what they draft, really. If there's a really good
before that, though, that's the thing. When you get
of course,
that's going to come first. And so,
you're asking my opinion of, well, if they get a really good defense guy, they're not going to need sort of XYZ sort of thing. But the majority of names you threw out,
your way of choosing your holes, if, for example, you let Sly go and he goes and signs with X other team, then you've got your hole of kicker that you're going to need to address, whether that's free agency or the draft. So it's choosing where do you want your holes to be, really. And
I don't think they need to make a hole at kicker. I think John Jones would be retainable.
Osborne I'd let walk. No interest.
See, I don't know about that. I think he's not the most consistent. He has some really good flashes and then doesn't seem to. So I'm not too sure about him. He's one of those, if you've got 3 piles at the moment, you've got definitely, you've got nah, and you've got I want to see at the end. He's in my I want to see at the end pile. List the names and I'll give you a yes no pile then. Right. That might be easier.
Ngakwe.
End of season.
Wise.
Yes.
Hooper.
Yes.
Osborne.
End of season.
Wilson, cornerback.
Marco Wilson. Didn't he go?
Oh yeah, no, I think he's gone now. When I made this list a couple of weeks ago. You're right. Jonathan Jones, we said yes.
Yes.
Jordan.
End of. He's in between the no and the end of season for me.
Brissett, you said yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
End of season.
Sly.
I think. At the minute, I'm thinking, he's probably more end of season, but at the minute, I'm saying,
Hasty.
Probably not.
Ellis,
Yes.
Ben Brown,
End of season.
Fahams,
End of season.
Austin.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, there's some decisions to be made. I hope those that are up get their opportunity so that decisions can be made about their futures, obviously, without it needing to be speculating. Oh, well, we're going to retain him because we didn't really see it. We hope he's going to become magic, because that's not what we're looking for here. We're on a rebuild now.
No,
so,
I agree completely.
The other thing I want to talk about is, why do you think the Patriots are playing so badly this season as an overall, not just looking at Miami?
It's the first year of a guy who's never been a head coach. It's the first year of a guy who's never done offensive play calling. They've had significant losses in significant places. And by that, I mean the loss of the likes of Barmore was key. I know he's back, which is great. The loss of Peppers was key in regards to he appeared to be a great locker room guy, a great hype man, strong on the field. They lost a couple of those, and the offensive line, they just haven't had the personnel in, and when they haven't had the consistency. They've been plagued by injury on the O-line, which I know that's the way of the sport, and I fully get that. It's, if you'd have had just a reasonably decent O-line that stayed healthy, that were the same 5 guys for a while, I think you'd see a significant difference. And it's a very young rookie quarterback's first year.
Okay, so you've dotted around a few. So you're whilst you're disappointed in the O-line, you think if it had health, it would be all right.
Not necessarily just health. I think there's a lot of factors in regards to it that have been unfortunate. If you'd have had all 5 guys were all reasonably decent guys, and they'd have been able to stay healthy, if been fortunate to stay healthy and had some consistency, I think we'd be seeing that's what's different significantly. The guys I don't know if they've got 5 reasonably good, decent NFL O-linemen right now.
I can give you to that. I think
there's no swearing on this show.
The evidence of the season, I think the answer to that, no, you do not have 5 NFL caliber offensive linemen on your roster
that shouldn't be backups or practice squad peoples.
That. So you touched on coaching.
Mm-hmm.
With the caveat of this is the first year for Covington, the first year for Mayo, and it's the first year for AVP in this specific sort of role that he's in.
Yeah.
Do you think they've done a poor job then? I know you're saying it's just the first year, but do you think they've done a poor job, which is why you're using that caveat?
I'm loath to say that they've done a poor job, because who am I to judge what they can do? There's no way you could throw me in that position and I'd do a better job. So who am I to be arrogant enough to say that I can judge them, sort of thing. However, it isn't great. They've made some bad decisions. Has some of the personnel decisions come down from Elliot Wolf? So is it a trickle-down effect? Is it something to do with sort of are we calling him the GM? Is he officially I don't think he's officially the GM, is he? But he kind of is, sort of thing. I don't think he's got the title, has he?
So we're 3-9. Who are you holding to account for that record?
Everybody. Whole.
So I'm certainly more down on the O-line than you have hope for it, but I think that's reflective of our personalities possibly as well. I think we don't have anywhere near a strong enough roster. That I put very squarely on Elliot Wolf.
Okay.
selections in free agency.
I wasn't sure where you were going with this, but yeah, I don't disagree with you.
And the draft selections look awful, other than the quarter, which we've debated before. So we're about to go into an off season with, go on.
Can I push back then? If you're going to go on draft,
What?
Shouldn't we then look at the last 3-4 years of draft, because they're not.
Yeah.
You can only blame him for the setup of personnel in his time making the decisions in regards to Wolf. And whilst he hasn't made great decisions, he does inherit a team that had issue in certain areas, i.e. like draft selection, years prior. So you could push back and argue, if the Patriots had had better draft situation, picks, whatever you want to say, however you want to package it up, over the last, say, 3 years, they would not be here now with the personnel that they have got. So you've got to blame some of the history. Now, not completely, and I'm not waving the flag to blame Bill Belichick for everything. I'm not. You know I'm not. I'm not like that, and I don't believe it should be put in that situation at all, because he's still the greatest coach of all time. However, the last few years that we have witnessed have not been good. And we are now sitting in a situation where history has affected the present. And Wolf cannot be completely to blame for personnel selection when some of it is an inherited situation. Do you understand my point? I
do, but...
Okay. Yeah, sure.
And I have no stats for this, but at the start of when he took control, how many of the players that are on this roster now did he have to inherit under contract? And I mean, even then, you still got the option to trade or cut. But the point is, I personally don't disagree with many of the players that they re-signed.
But I don't just mean
inherited. The way they have constructed a roster, particularly constructed an O-line, because effectively they didn't construct an O-line.
No. Well,
that's his decision. And I think that's probably the biggest problem on our roster. The way he constructed a wide receiver room through the draft and through picking up Osborne has failed.
But he's also inherited holes as well, because of the lack of talent that's been drafted in the last few years. I'm not just saying he's had to inherit the players that.
Is it Bill Belichick's fault we have Polk and Baker on the roster?
No.
Bill Belichick's fault we have Douglas and Henry on the roster? Yes.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Best players. So I'm.
No, you're twisting it. I'm not blaming Bill Belichick. What I'm saying is we need to look at.
What you're saying is it's not Elliott Wolf's fault, and I'm saying it is.
No, I'm saying it's not. It isn't all his fault. He is at blame. I'm not giving him all the blame. I'm giving him most of it, because he's had to inherit the history of what they haven't had in the last few years. You need to listen. I'm not completely saying he's not to blame.
Okay, I'm agreeing. I'm giving him most of it. He doesn't have to have 100% of it, but he has to have most of it for the way this roster is constructed. And the point being, we're now about to go into another draft where it looks like we're going to have another set of very good picks, because we're going to have poor results at the end of the season. We're going to be drafting high. We're going to have a massive cap to spend. Are you confident in him and his ability to spend those assets wisely? Do you want him making the decisions when you can basically base his roster construction on last year, which appears to have gone very poorly?
Confident, not exactly, but ready to give him the opportunity to redeem himself, if you like. Then I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know how well he's going to do it. I'm optimistic to see him. When you're just talking about the upward trajectory, so surely he has the opportunity to get better as well.
He can't get much worse.
No, but see, I love it. You throw it at me like I'm disagreeing with you, but I'm not. I'm agreeing with everything, but there's just a little bit of an extra point in regards to but sort of thing.
Okay, where I guess it gets to is I'm pleased with the quarterback that they have, and I'm pleased.
Are you? Are you sure?
Few players around them. Pop Douglas, Henry's playing well. I still like Stevenson, although he's not been quite as effective this year. Gonzo. There's plenty of players in lots of different positions. You can go, okay, I like them. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have real worry at the coaching and the structure that's been put in place around it. I'm sure Covington is the best defensive coordinator we could have. I'm not sure. Whilst I think AVP and the coaching structure that's been put in place to develop Drake May seems good. McAdoo, and who's the other name I'm trying to think of?
TC McCarthy.
Michael McCarthy. I like the coaching they've done for May. I'm sure they're putting together a strong enough offense, scheme wise, play call wise. I don't think it's the best the Patriots could be doing. I'm really worried that Jared Mayo is not the guy. I like him. I loved him as a player. It's nothing personal. I just fear that he ain't the guy that's going to take us to promised land. He's not. And now we got time, and as I said, he's got 3 years. I'm just already worried from the way it's trending. There isn't that progression. There really isn't, and you can say there isn't on nearly every aspect of the game at the moment. Like we said, even Drake May, who is our most promising asset, there's quite a lot of dip that's happening. I like him. I want him. I don't want rid of him. May that is. But you look at what's been put together. You look at the lack of discipline with the penalties, things like that. I really worry the way that he's gone back and forth on some of his comments when he says we're going to splash the cash, then he says we're not. I really worry he just isn't the guy. And how long are we going to take to potentially get to that point where everyone can agree he ain't the guy? And what detriment that will have had? Because let's say we do take 3 years and then we're going into, okay, we can franchise tag him. But Drake May in his 4th year, going into his 5th year of a contract potentially. And the reality is, if we're still playing the way we are now, and hopefully we won't, but you then could be in a position where Drake May's going, I ain't going to sign another contract. Because this is not where I want to be. This isn't the best development. I'm projecting a very long way ahead here.
That's what I was going to make a point of.
Very long way ahead, but I'm just getting the vibe, the worry that Jared Mayo just isn't the guy.
And on that amazing positive,
can't close. But we can stop talking. So the last bit, I guess, to close off on the game, which I should have done earlier.
Dude, we're going to run out of time significantly.
Barmore, I'm giving my underrated player of the day. He got a sack, tackle, quarterback hit, some tackles. He was starting to return to more the Barmore that we know. So I'm giving him my underrated player of the day. Go on then, Colts.
That's good. I like that. That's good. Colts. Yes. Home game. Back to Gillette. December 1st.
What's your prediction?
I think the Patriots are going to pick it back up, and I think that they're going to beat the Colts.
So they're just coming off a loss to the Lions, where they're at home. So you're going for a home win against.
I am. I'm going 21-19 to the Patriots. And because I know that you're going to predict a loss, I think we should end now on a positive.
We're not playing well, but I think you're playing a team that are also not playing well. I don't think Richardson's that great at quarterback. I don't know. I don't know. I almost want to pick a draw because, like, I don't think either team are good enough to win it.
Quite quite have to put up with, folks.
I'll predict a loss because then it gives us an opportunity to break a record. But I think no, I want to go positive. Let's go positive. Patriots going to win 23-20.
23-20. Okay. So on that extremely positive bombshell there, folks, we're going to end the show again. So that is it for week 12. Pat's Procrastination post-game recap wrap show, episode 45. As usual, tune in next week. And as always, go Pats.
LFG.